And we're live.
Hello and welcome to
And I
Inappropriate
can't hear
Characters.
anybody, so keep going on, and I'll figure out why I can't hear you.
All right. Well, can the people in the chat hear us? Let me know. As usual, we're starting with technical issues. Anyone in the chat, let us know. Can you hear us?
Oh, I can see myself now.
Can you hear us? Hello.
Hello.
Well, there's a let.
Okay, you can hear everyone. Okay, very good.
Awesome.
So, hello and welcome to another episode of Inappropriate Characters, the most inappropriate gaming chat in all of YouTube. This is the RPG Pundit, and I'm joined, as usual, by Venture Satanis and Joe Bittman, aka Hentai Dad, for some damn reason, because we can't get him to change it. And today we have a very special guest star, as Kermit the Frog might have said. We have with us Chelsea, aka Dollipip. That's her channel. She's also a frequent commentator on Aaron the Pedantic's channel, because I believe Aaron is her boy toy or something like that.
Something like that.
So we're very happy to have you here, Chelsea. And the reason I'm going to explain, because some of the people in the audience might not know who you are. I mean, I recently mentioned your video in one of my recent videos. You did a very interesting video on your YouTube channel, which is called Dollipip, so people can look it up there. That I thought was just spectacularly well done. I've also seen you in live streams with Aaron, and you know, I'm going to confess something here. I know that there are a lot of people who have channels now that are talking about games, but back when I started up, you know, there was all the kind of, you know, Critical Role stuff, but there wasn't a lot of people doing kind of commentary. And now there are a lot. But I've tried listening to a lot of these, and for the most part, I find them kind of dull. You know, like they don't catch my attention. I'm glad that people seem to like my videos. I think maybe I have a style to it that makes it successful. But I've just seen that other people do it, whether it's good production values or bad. Like, I mean, our former co-host Grim Jim has very good production values on his video, but he just kind of drones on and on. And I can't tell you the last time I saw one Avengers video. Sorry, Avenger, but it's you know, you don't have great production values, but I also don't like.
That's true. I do not, but I keep them short, which is something that pundits never do.
No, I don't.
Like to watch.
Every single one of my videos
is 27 minutes long.
Every single one of my videos is a university lecture. You know, you're getting a PhD in gaming. But anyway,
I can hear you guys too, by the way.
One of the channels that I also tried to watch and didn't find very interesting, sorry, dude, is Aaron the Pedantics. Except when he has you, when he's chatting with you, it changes the whole dynamic. And I think, Frank, you're less boring than he is. So that's why I want to, you know, we had Aaron on, you know, he's a friend of the show. So I hope he takes this as the roasting in good humor that it is. But now I thought we should invite you on, especially as a way to encourage you to make more excellent videos like you've done so far. And to, you know,
got me like literally red
assuming
now.
you want to do more appearances on Aaron's channel too. So a couple of questions though, like, because I don't really know that much about you, apart from the fact that Aaron is your boy toy.
I like Aaron a lot. If I could just
I want you to tell us a bit about you, right? Like,
I think Aaron's channel is awesome. And I think Aaron's just a natural, I don't know, he's got a natural rhythm, natural speaker. It's very listenable to voice, and which is why I asked him to if he would do like a Gonzo medal, like how to medal and Gonzo up your like D&D campaign or whatever RPG podcast. Which is what we have. We have we're going to show that later, but we have our own podcast.
His new channel before we started.
Aaron Aaron does such a great job of both breaking subjects down to a very listenable kind of way. And I think he has a great voice.
I'll agree with you, Venture. I'll agree with you on that. Content-wise, I think Aaron's channel is really good. Don't get me wrong. It's just the delivery that I find
really. I think the delivery is great.
Me too.
Maybe it's because I'm used to watching a lot of right-wing YouTube, and that's always action-packed. But there we go. So, anyways, Doll, let's get back to the special guest star if we can, please. I'd like to know what's your history in gaming. I mean, are you someone who started gaming because of Aaron, or were you already a gamer before that? And have you played 5th edition? Have you played earlier editions of D&D? Are you mostly did you get into the OSR just recently or before that? Tell us what we should know about you.
Well, I mean, I've always been I've always been a gamer since I was a kid, but it was all, I'm a filthy peasant on console to this day. So big video gamer. I had never done any kind of tabletop gaming really until I think it was 3 or 4 years ago now. I don't know exactly, but I started at the same time that Aaron did, but he didn't get me into it. What had actually happened was a friend of mine had invited me to play in their 5th edition game, and I was like, well, can I bring Aaron with me? And they're like, yeah, sure. So that's where that all began. And what I find really hilarious about that is that Aaron was really hesitant about starting the hobby at all, and then here we are. But
why was he hesitant?
Just pretty much, I think it was about the fact that we would be having to meet up, every so often to play together, and he was like, that's kind of a commitment sort of thing,
Fear of commitment, okay.
No, but anyway, that's where that whole thing started. I haven't played any other D&D editions besides 5th edition, but I do play. I really like Dungeon Crawl Classics. I like Lamentations. I think I've played a Lion and Dragons game.
Oh, great!
But not so much sci-fi or horror or superheroes or other genres, just primarily fantasy then.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm not averse to other genres, but that's been the majority of my gaming history.
Okay. Great. And so out of the different experiences you've had gaming, do you have a game that you like more than all the others?
Tabletop or video games?
No, RPGs, tabletop. This is a tabletop RPG show.
Just making sure.
Talk about Catman all show. It's fine.
You don't know
that's
where she
really
is.
Tough. That's really tough. But I think Dungeon Crawl Classics might be my favorite so far.
Well, it is. I think we all agree it's an awesome game. So
it is.
Even though I like 5th edition a lot more than Aaron does.
Oh well. There you go.
I just looked at a video.
I can't say bad things about 5th edition because I helped make it. So I'll leave that to the others to crap all over it. Do you notice, one question though, do you notice a difference between the culture of 5th edition and 5th edition gamers and the OSR? And if so, what are your opinions on it?
Well, I definitely noticed a difference. I guess I feel like it's really divisive, but for petty reasons. Because I'm pretty firm on the whole if you're having fun, you don't get to tell other people that the way that they're having fun is wrong. But
Good point.
Okay.
So wait, the OSR does that, or the 5th edition people do that?
Both.
So I had another question for you here before we got into the. Oh yes, right. One more thing before we move on to start in the general topics. And by the way, just in case I didn't make it clear before the video started, We're going to start talking about a number of things going on. Feel free to jump in, interrupt Venger, and tell everyone, what you think about the things we're talking about, right? Like, you're not here just for this first segment. You're an equal contributor, just like any of our guests are when they come on here.
Awesome.
But the last question I wanted to ask you, so you've now done some videos with Aaron. You've done a video of your own. I've seen it being shared online. Have you had any responses, positive or negative responses? Have the SJWs commented on you yet, or
they haven't found me yet? No, they haven't found me yet.
Yeah, you got a target on your back now.
That's okay. I knew the risks when I put on the uniform. No, it's fine. As of yet, it's all been overwhelmingly positive. I I keep seeing the views go up on my most recent video, and I'm just like, oh my god! I was telling Aaron, when I made that video, I expected maybe 20 people max might be interested in it. You know what I'm saying? I had no expectations for anybody to be interested in it or see it, and now I'm just like, man, this is cool. I want to make more stuff. But yeah, the feedback has been pretty much really positive, and I'm ready. I'm ready for the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Good stuff. Let me just take a quick glance at our audience. Meanwhile, Job, if you or Venger have any questions for Chelsea that I didn't think of, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, have you had any interest in writing your own adventures at all, or?
Well, I like the idea of that. I like writing. As far as writing an adventure, for a game, I don't have enough technical knowledge, I think, to do that. Maybe if I really learned, if I really put forth the effort to really learn about it, I'm not uninterested in it. But as of where I sit right now, there's no way. I mean, I still have trouble even when playing games sometimes being wait, how does that mechanic work? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm not uninterested. If I really did the study and I really got into it, then yeah, I'd be interested. I like coming up with stuff like that. I do a lot of homebrew stuff for my own games that I've run, but actually putting pen to paper to write one is a whole other intimidating barrel of fish.
Yeah.
So some comments from our peanut gallery so far. Judd Goswick says, "Inappropriate Characters Estrogen Edition." I guess you are actually, I think, the first female guest we've had. So there we go.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored.
Indigo Dragon says there are rumors of what she does to Aaron. Malarkey's Mercurial Musings says, "Does Venger post videos?"
Well, he probably doesn't know about my channel. I don't do a lot of videos. No, it's pretty rare.
I think they're coming.
I do the occasional video.
Chelsea, I think they're commenting on that. We called. We were joking that the name of Gonzo Up Your Ass sounded like a show about pegging, obviously. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Maybe that was an intentional thing.
Well, Aaron the Pedantic says, "Thanks, Venger," and I'm sure in reference to Venger's praise of him. And then he says, "Pundit, I'm literally shaking." Tarantul says, "RPG Civil War confirmed." Ben says, "Pundit loves Aaron's channel, but he just prefers it without Aaron is all."
Oh, that's mean.
Well, that's what we expect from our peanut gallery.
I will say this, Aaron has a much better way of saying things off the cuff than I do when it comes to I could never do live streams the way he does. I would just babble forever. My first video, my Bards video, I hate that video because I talk in circles and it's I need those cuts and I need to take the time to piece together what I'm gonna say or else I'm gonna just sound like a rambling moron. So, he has that going for him at least.
And that's why I don't make videos that often. That's all I do because I do everything in one take. I don't stop and editing because I'm not that smart with tech stuff. So I just do everything in one take. That's one of the many reasons why my videos suck. That's why I don't make that many of them. But
I do all my videos in one take, and that's why they're so awesome.
I'm jealous of you guys. I don't know how you find all the time to make all these videos.
Well, let's
This is
move
early.
on. Job, what's our first topic of tonight?
Are we gonna? Well, the first topic is Chelsea. Obviously, I mean Dollipip. Sorry,
No,
I don't
first
know if I
topic
just doxed
after
you.
introducing Chelsea. I mean,
What's the next one?
yeah.
That would be Candlekeep.
All right. So you guys all know that Candlekeep Adventures has come out now, and it's the new 5th edition source book. And the interesting thing about Candlekeep Adventures, which I think is a trend because we're going to see the same thing with the upcoming Ravenloft book, is that it is a collection of adventures that have been written by a large cast of people, many of whom have very little actual experience in writing, and some of whom have very little experience in RPGs, period. And in particular, a lot of them happen to be people that have had a long career of crapping all over 5th edition, D&D, Wizards of the Coast, and everything else. So it's kind of funny how that works, right? Like,
Task force is gathered.
yeah. SJWs are like a combination of Soviet political commissars and the guy the mafia gets to go around collecting the protection money, right? Like they'll threaten you with destruction and then demand that you pay them. And apparently that's what Wizards of the Coast has decided to do, right? And all these people who have repeatedly tried to trash Wizards of the Coast and 5th edition have now been rewarded with money and writing credits in these books.
So,
Now, I think Wizards thinks this is going to pacify them, but we now know, obviously, it isn't. And one example of this has already happened immediately after Candlekeep came out, which is that there was one guy, Graham Barber, I think his name is. His handle is POC Gamer, as in person of color gamer, I assume, who did one of the adventures for Candlekeep. As soon as the book came out, he started protesting the book because he said he had written for Wizards a 7,000 word adventure. And when the book came out, he was stunned to discover that they'd shaved off about 2,000 words. They'd shortened his adventure. And also they changed the tone of his adventure. And so apparently he claims, and I mean, speaking as someone who's kind of familiar with Wizards, and I know Job's very familiar with Wizards, and we'll see what he thinks about it in a second. I think the claim might be credible. He claims that the adventure he had set up was one that has to do with like these two races. One of them were the Yuan-Ti, and the other one were some race I think he made up. I'm not even sure. That had a conflict with each other, and he had meant to make it like they both had sophisticated cultures, and then Wizards cut off 2,000 words and basically turned the Yuan-Ti into evil monsters and the other non-human culture into primitives. And I think they even used that word. And so he's, obviously tremendously offended, and he's actually demanded that Wizards take his name out of the book. So I think it's interesting because, I mean, obviously this guy, I don't know if this guy was ever going to not end up trashing Wizards again, because he's one of these guys that has made a career out of trashing Wizards. But I do think he's probably telling the truth, about this experience, because I think this is very much the kind of things that Wizards do.
why would he lie?
Jump in here. I mean, everything I ever wrote for Wizards, they just heavily edit the crap out of it. I mean, the last thing I didn't even want to do the Adventurers League thing for him, but I kind of buried all these insults and stuff inside of it, and as a joke. And they published it as one of the 5e Adventurers League adventures, the Courting of Fire. But unfortunately, most of my digs at them got edited out. Like I called the dragon Zazakwarax or something, which was an anagram of WotC Suxors. But they changed the dragon name. They changed that one I wrote. I would say they rewrote 70% of it. I had like over 20 rooms. They put it down to 9 rooms, and I had this like cool thing where it was like a chromatic dragon, and there was a key of each color that you put together, and then you put it in the door. And those key rooms were just like spread out on the map. They put them all next to the door, like, so there's no reason to try to go find them or anything. You just would walk into the door right next to the door where the key piece is. So it was kind of like ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, all the way back in like right in the I wrote in the 4E days, too, and you know, I mean, they have their like they have their style list that they send you, and then it's all written to the Chicago manual style, like 15th edition or something, and they all dumb all the language down to like, you know, 8th grade reading level, so you know, that's not a good mix for my writing style, really. So
Benjer,
I mean,
you had something.
they bought it, they own it. You know, you might as well just let them. You figure they're going to do what they want to do with it. You know, I mean, it's kind of naive to think they're not going to edit your work.
Yeah,
Right.
Benjer.
So I mean, like, forgive me if I'm wrong, but then why buy the product if you don't like the product? Why not hire your own writers and people to do this stuff? Like, that's just shitty.
Because it's cheaper. It's cheaper to hire these people as freelancers than to have in-staff writers.
Did you guys hear me talking at all?
Yeah, we can do.
Oh, okay, all right. If I talked over people, I'm sorry. I clicked something and it turned off my speakers. I didn't realize it.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Benjer, you were trying to comment something on what Joe was saying.
Yeah, I can see it both ways. I mean, if you have 12 different editors, then you're going to have 12 very different looking adventures out of the same root adventure. So I can understand the editors kind of feeling like they have to do their thing, and they want to make the adventure the best it can be for the masses of people that would go buy the book. That's their job. So I can see it the other way too, where you wrote a creative thing that they asked you to write, but really you just work for hire. I mean, you don't really own it yourself. Mm-hmm. So you kind of lose some ground there. I guess I can see it both ways. Either way, it's not a huge, major controversy that should be like sucking the air out of all role-playing game culture. And we're only covering it on the show because we see it everywhere. You know, it's everywhere on Twitter, on Facebook, and people are talking about it on their podcasts. So we want to cover it too. But it's not the end of the world either way. So
I'm pretty annoyed that it sounds like they essentially dumbed it down. I mean, you said they took it down to like an 8th grade reading level and like made it too easy. Like, is there not a market for things that aren't like that? I don't know.
Well, the 8th grade reading level is the average reading level of Americans. So it's you know, I've written for websites and things like that, and I've been forced to dumb down my writing style to match that, because otherwise, apparently, people just won't read it. You know, so this is a common practice, actually. Now, the thing
which I think is kind of a misconception. I mean, I think they're wrong. I mean, just think of it practically. If you're like a quarter of the way reading something, and you come across a word or two that maybe you have to look up or just get it from context, you're just really gonna like stop reading it. Like you're just gonna rage quit. Like, oh, this module. Like I had to look up, you know, obliquely. Fuck. Like I don't know.
Well, this is how a lot of people are. It's very surprising, but I think it's probably true. You know, you get less views if you write something that's too sophisticated. But I totally agree with you, Benjer, that, you know, the thing is, these guys, like I've said many, many times before, right? It's the lowest level of working in gaming. It doesn't matter if you're working for Wizards, because that's obviously what they wanted. They want to get to brag that they work in the industry or something like that. But you are literally a wage slave you're producing something that it does not belong to you anymore, and that you're being paid pennies for making. And
you're
that they
basically
can
an
change it
unpaid
any way they
intern.
like. They have a right to change it any way they like, right?
Yeah, you're an
Yeah.
unpaid intern, right? Basically,
Well,
Yeah.
you're not unpaid, but you're
I mean,
very low.
practically.
Yeah.
Billion-dollar
Now, the thing-
company, and you're making like $5 an hour writing.
Yeah. The thing that I do find very surprising, and if it's true, is really kind of a black mark on Wizards, is that they made significant changes, not just to the text, but to the style of the adventure, and didn't even tell him, right? They had every right to do it. But I do think that's shitty behavior on Wizards' part to not have said so and then just surprising with it,
Or
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah, and I was going to say
chance
kind of
to
that same thing.
make
Like,
corrections.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Chelsea, you're the guest.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say like that same thing. Like, it's not so much that they didn't have the right to do it, but that was like kind of unethical, kind of gummies.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, on my 5th edition thing that I wrote for them, I knew the way they work, so I kept going back to them over and over. Like every 2 weeks, I sent them an email. I'm like, hey, you need any edits? Tell me what you need. I'll do whatever you want. But I knew they were just gonna like butcher it and have it not make sense. And they took the investigation section of the adventure and like just totally mangled it and made it like not make sense anymore.
Yeah.
So
I read your Twitter thread on that, Joe.
okay.
I actually found it very informative.
Some comments from our peanut gallery here. Ben says, write for Wizards and then demand that the book you worked on be banned.
right.
Malaki's Mercurial Musings says, OGGM, I don't know who that is, just posted 3 videos about this and basically came to the conclusion that Wizards of the Coast did nothing wrong and the writer is a liar. Well, the thing is, I can't imagine Wizards doing this. So I'm not, I'd have to see some proof that he is lying. I'm not totally sure that this is a case. Like, a lot of the guy's other gripes are not, credible, but I think this might be.
It's that lines up with everything that I've worked for them multiple times since 2009, 2008, 10, something like that, when I got my first dungeon adventure printed. So it's true. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to go into it, but I've worked with multiple people there too that are just like rude and they give you when you used to work with the producers as a freelancer. I don't think you even do that anymore, but when you used to work with the producers, people probably work with some producer there. My producer gave me like a bunch of feedback that was kind of snarky, and then I went back and I did what they said. I answered their questions, and then they sent me back more feedback that totally contradicted their first feedback. So it was just like, okay, like what the hell do you want from me? Like, I'm gonna keep rewriting this over and over. Just don't be snarky. Like, you obviously like didn't clearly state what you want. Tell me what you want, and I can make it happen. But whatever. Well,
like I've said, if you want control over your work, you've got to write for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, no editor that no publisher that publishes one of my books is going to change a word of what I've written without checking with me first, and they'll never change the spirit of the work. I'll be glad if they correct typos, but.
And for anybody out there who is interested in this topic, I can tell you from my experience that Lamentations of the Flame Princess won't change anything without talking to you. Goodman Games mostly doesn't, but you're kind of at the luck of whatever rando volunteer editor they use. Some of them think that they're writers and they go in and then start chopping stuff, and you look at it later like, what the hell? But for the most part, they don't really mess with your writing at Goodman Games either.
Yeah. Well, anything else to say about this topic, or should we go on to the second Candlekeep topic?
Let's move on.
All right. So the second topic is one that is a particular peeve of mine. There was another guy who wrote for Candlekeep Mysteries whose name is Daniel Kwan. And he is the guy, you might remember him as the guy that led the campaign to try to ban Oriental Adventures for it being, colonialist and racist and cultural appropriation. And the result of that was that eventually every single TSR book got a warning for, questionable content on it on the DMs Guild or whatever. And this guy has now written an adventure in Candlekeep that is a Chinese-themed adventure, which is quite bold of him because this is the opportunity for him to show how he thinks it should be done and why his basic argument has from interviews and such seems to be that this is something that you need Chinese people to write, the color of your skin or your genetics somehow determines whether you're going to be able to even make something of the culture in particular, and yet having looked at the interviews he's done, and he's had written interviews, and he's had an interview which is very interesting on D&D Beyond, I think it is, on the D&D YouTube channel, the chat channel that they have, which I thought was the first thing that amazed me about it, because I'd never been on there before. They have 198,000 subscribers, and their videos get around, maybe just slightly more views than mine do. And I have like 3,300 subscribers, right? So like nobody watches them, But anyway, the guy made it very clear. He's right. He wrote an adventure called The Book of Internal Alchemy. And it's themed around, because all the Candlekeep adventures are supposed to be themed around a book. It's supposed to be a book about like internal Chinese magic, right? What's called Neidan, that is a real thing in Chinese culture and Chinese history and Chinese mysticism. And he made it very clear that his primary inspiration was watching a bunch of kung fu movies. Guess what? Oriental Adventures was basically Gary Gygax having watched a bunch of kung fu movies too, right? Maybe there's more kung fu movies to watch now, but he's basically done nothing new in it. In the adventure, he talks a bit about like ki and things like that, but everybody knows about ki. He doesn't go into any depth that nobody else has done, and in fact, in gaming, there's, at least one guy who's done a much more authentic perspective on that, which was my late mentor, Eric Wujik. And he did that way back in like Ninjas and Super Spies and Mystic China, which was like Ninjas and Super Spies came out in the 80s, and it's Eric Wujik is not Chinese, obviously. And the dude wrote a book that was very clearly based on really, really deep research into both real Chinese martial arts and Chinese mysticism and mythology. And Quan did nothing of that, right? And in fact, I don't know if you've got the image there, Joe, but in the book, they have a picture of what is supposed to be the Book of Internal Alchemy, right? And if you look at the picture that they provided of the Book of Internal Alchemy, the cover of the book has Western art on it. Like the cover of the book is made to look like the image of the Vitruvian Man. It's a variation of, Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, which was like just a ridiculous thing to do because there's tons of Chinese art that he could have used, that he could have modified and made for that cover. And I mean, obviously it was some artist who did it, but I'm guessing that, I'm pretty surprised that Quan, like I know that he saw it because it was one of the things that they did in the previews of it before it even came out. And yet there he was, he just went with it. So it's, it shows just a complete pig ignorance of the whole topic that he's working on, right? Because do you have the image there, Joe?
Actually, I'm getting it up. I'll put it up in a second.
Okay.
As fast as I can.
Because look, I'm someone who studied Chinese mysticism for 25 years, right? And in terms of like internal alchemy specifically, like the images of the outline of a person's body, right? Like it's the Vitruvian Man, if you know what I'm talking about, the picture that Da Vinci did. And in Chinese art related to internal alchemy, there's tons and tons of pictures that are representative of the human body with the different, like he could have totally phoned it in and just did an image of the acupuncture map, right? Like the lines of the acupuncture meridians, which is like a standard model that you'll see in any acupuncturist, which is not exactly internal alchemy, but it's a related topic, right? So that would have been like 1,000 times more authentic than the image that they ended up putting up.
All right, yeah, I got it up on the screen now, Pundit. I don't know about the maturity. To me, it looks like basic role playing from.
Well, they said, they actually, in one of Wizards' promotions, they actually said the art of the cover is inspired by the Vitruvian Man. Look at how awesome it is, right? Yeah. When it's supposed to be a Chinese book, right? And there's like incredible images in Chinese art that are related to internal alchemy. There's one that I also sent you. I don't know if you've got that one, but I sent you one that is a representation of the inside of the body of like a meditator sitting, but the inside of the body is shown as like this landscape with like terrain and mountains and then all these spiritual symbols that relate to how the different centers of the body have different processes related to using your body and meditation and breath and chi to create self-transformation, right? And so like there's literally like that almost looks like it could be a map of a demi-plane. And the dude didn't use it, right? He didn't use that. He didn't use any other image. They used a Western image on the cover of this book, right? So like, and all of this would have been forgivable if it wasn't for the fact that Daniel Kwan was the one that was bitching about the, how inaccurate the treatment of Chinese culture has been in RPGs. And he's done something that is like a complete phoning it in that shows I don't know what the guy's history, apparently he's Chinese Canadian, I'm guessing raised in Canada. I'm sure he knows a bit about, Chinese culture in general, but he obviously doesn't know anything about, like the deeper subject, or if he does, he chose not to do it. He chose not to include any of it. And he's done a product that anybody else who watched a bunch of Kung Fu movies could have done, So that's my... He basically
was like, this is bad. You could do it better, but it's okay when I do it the same way, though.
Exactly. When I do it exactly the same way.
Well, isn't that the point of hiring these people? I mean, they're not hiring for their talent. They're hiring so that they're hiring meat for their shields for SJW dive bomb attacks.
That's right. It's protection money. Yeah. They're being paid protection money, and they get to say, look at how diverse we are, right? Even if the product itself doesn't end up having anything that would be actually improved by their work,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else has anything else to say about this, but I just wanted to take advantage of the live stream to bitch about this particular topic, Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just ridiculous because, they could have taken the opportunity to actually do something good, but then they were like, nah, we're going to do what we always do, but look at our Asian doing it.
Right, exactly. Well said.
Yeah. It's tremendously disappointing, and yet at the same time, completely predictable.
Yeah, that's what's so frustrating. Like, it's like, it's going to happen, but then it does, and you're still disappointed.
Some comments from the Peanut Gallery here. Sir Guy says, give him credit for complaining himself into a writing position. If I knew bitching was more important than writing talent, I would have done that years ago.
Yes. I bitch at Wizards all the time. I don't get like writing credits or opportunities or nothing.
Aaron the Pedantic says, Oriental Adventures actually involved some research and sensitivity reading before that was a thing. Yeah. Well, Oriental Adventures is obviously dated. It obviously has a lot of, it's a big muddle, right? Like it's definitely not culturally authentic in the sense of being, authentically Chinese. It's a big mishmash of China, Japan, and anything that was cool at the time, right? But it was a product of its age, right? And today, if they wanted to do a Chinese setting and they hired someone, regardless of their race, who actually knew the research and actually knew how to, knew what they were talking about, they could do so much better if they wanted to, And
somebody who knew more than kung fu movies.
Yeah, something more than watching a bunch of kung fu movies, right? Because Chinese history, Chinese occultism, Chinese mythology is incredibly sophisticated, right? And I mean, like I said before, Eric Wujcik already tapped into that with, Ninjas and Super Spies and Mystic China, especially his Mystic China book. It's like, it's spectacularly detailed and accurate, and that was years and years ago. And he was a white guy, yeah.
Yeah, and they could have taken the opportunity to really have made something really good and different and not just the same schlock we've all been consuming from the kung fu movies. But no, just went back to what sells, I guess. I mean, I can't see any other reason why they would have been like, I like this even though it's nothing new.
Torque 2100 says about the cover that they used for the Book of Internal Alchemy, LOL, that's not Chinese at all. I think it's just some stock image they had. Judd Goswick says, basic role-playing's cover is now based on the Vitruvian Man as well. Well, it sort of is, right? Anything that's like the outline of a human in a circle is a variation on the Vitruvian Man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bit of a simplification, but more or less, Let's see if anyone else said anything about this. A lot of off-topic stuff. Here we go. Shadzar says, Daniel Kwan was bitching about the names of the Japanese editors of Oriental Adventures, saying they aren't Japanese enough because Daniel is such a Japanese name. Hey, Daniel said, he's not Japanese, he's Chinese, but yeah. James Jeffer says, Dollipip's video, Patriarchy Forces Women to Use Force in D&D Encounters, was hilarious. I agree.
Thank you.
I like
I'm
that
glad
one
you
too.
enjoyed it.
Snowman147 says, Venture Satanis, how about you make an Asian fantasy setting that is basically just Alpha Blue just to piss off the SJWs?
Hey, I try to piss off those SJWs as much as I can. Most of the time, they just don't take the bait. And I think they just ignore me or mute me or whatever, which is sad. Every once in a while, I'll rattle a saber and they're like, oh my God, Venture Satanis is pouncing. He's on the attack. But that's pretty rare these days.
You're on the attack.
They just quietly talk to their friends and like, is there any way to cancel this guy? No? All right, let's be back next week.
That's the hilarious thing about cancel culture in and of itself. It's like, but you can't stop me from doing what I do. Like, you don't have to watch me, but can you stop me?
Yeah, even Zach S. continues to blog and put stuff out. Sometimes it's like piecemeal, half-ass stuff that is kind of non-coherent and whatever.
The thing is,
he puts it out there. I mean, you can download it or give him some money or throw some spare change at him, and he'll give you a download link. He's still getting stuff out there. So he's been the most canceled person in role-playing games ever. I think he's still kind of doing it. I mean, he's not totally canceled, and he's fighting back. He's not just being a pussy and just being like I will go into exile. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Everything
No!
He's suing everyone is what he's doing now.
Yeah, which is a strategy, I guess.
Well,
I'd rather have that. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I was just trying to be more equitable, but in the chaos, I got lost. And the Jews! I don't know. It's also fake and political.
Anybody who's willing to think outside of a collective hive mind can make the decision for themselves. That's what makes cancel culture so ridiculous. I mean, you're basically outing yourself as being someone who's not going to actually investigate things for yourself. It's just like, oh, okay, we hate this now.
Well, I made a video, just my most recent videos, about how to make a living off, RPG design. And one of the points I make that's important is, in this day and age, you do have to take measures to make sure you're uncancelable, right? Because yes, they can't stop you, but if they can go and have a bunch of SJWs harass your full-time employer in your normal work, and get you fired, then that's a real problem. So we can't
that's true.
make light of that, but you have to make sure that you've got cover or independence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the only one. It was like, getting canceled from RPGs. What do you do? What are you really doing to a person? It's like, oh no, I can't make 6 cents a word, like writing for all these like crappy woke companies,
Or no, I can't play a game with friends in my own home.
Right? Yeah,
I've
exactly.
been canceled.
Sir Guy in the live chat says, Wizards of the Coast craps out garbage and the fans eat it up every time. They occasionally complain, but then they buy the next supplement. That's true. I think that's a very astute perspective. And that's why I think they're going to have to make some really, like every product that they come out is more SJW than the last. And that trend is probably going to continue at least for a while. And they're really going to have to hit a real critical mass of garbage for it to have... to break the inertia of 5e's success. But, I do have a bit of confidence that the SJWs will find a way to do that. Like they've managed to destroy, movies and TV and comics and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm sure they'll figure out how to destroy Wizards of the Coast, Yeah,
the pendulum will always swing back around.
One will hope, yeah.
I mean, it will. I don't know how long it'll take, but it always does.
It usually will, yeah. I mean, it's just when is the question. But I think there'll still be more nonsense before we're through. Anyway, before we move to the next topic, it would really be the right time because I see that probably relatively soon it's Venture's bedtime. So maybe we should do some pimping of things. Do you think?
Yeah, let's go ahead and let our guest go first. I'll pull up her shill screen.
All right.
It's funny. I just was the first image I grabbed, and then you told us that this was your least favorite video.
Wait, what? Sorry, that y'all both talking.
Oh, you can't see the screen. Okay, you're now the only person on the screen. Tell everybody how to find you on wherever. Tell them about your channels. Blah blah blah. It's just sell yourself.
Okay. Well, my YouTube channel is Dollipip, and I intend to make more videos relating to the RPG world soonish. You can also find me on Twitter. I think my Twitter handle is Dolly Daily now because it said Dollipip was taken. I'm pretty sure that's still me. I just don't have access to it anymore. But yeah, I think that's where you could find me there. I also do stuff with Aaron the Pedantic on his channel. We do a weekly podcast, which is the Pedantic Pen and Paper podcast, and most of the time I'm there. Sometimes I'm not. So that's my stuff.
There's a link for our viewers in the description of this live stream. You can find the link to Dollipip's channel and to the Pedantic podcast. They're both included in the description of the live stream. So check it out and subscribe.
And how do we find you on Twitter, Dollipip?
I think that my Twitter handle is Dolly Daily now.
Okay.
So just DOLLI Daily.
Okay. I know I just followed you, but I don't remember what it was.
And thank you, anybody else that does.
All right. Who's next,
you're
Joe?
up, Pundit.
All right. Well, you guys already know all the stuff that I do, but you can follow my YouTube channel if you're not. I'm guessing almost everybody here is already on my YouTube channel, but if you're not, go over there and subscribe. Check out my videos. Like I said, my latest video is about how to make it as a game designer, and the short version of it is that it's really hard to actually do, but there are some tips that I think can be useful for anyone that's trying to. And as far as my products, well, you can check out all my gaming books. My latest big gaming book is World of the Last Sun, which is based on my now 8-year-old DCC campaign, still going on. It's a real gonzo fantasy setting. Lots of excellent material there that you can use whole hog, or that you can take the bits you like and put them into your weird fantasy or gonzo fantasy setting. It's not specifically DCC rules, like it's relatively system neutral, so you can use it for any OSR game. And it's had some really excellent reviews. It's already I think it's an Electrum bestseller. You could also check out all my other books: Dark Albion, Lion and Dragon, Arrows of Indra, Cults of Chaos. And if you're a bit low on cash, check out the RPG Pundit Presents PDF series. We've got 104 issues out now. The latest one is More Medieval Authentic Secret Societies, which is a collection of a half dozen secret societies that are either based on real secret societies of the Middle Ages or secret societies that would be completely authentic within the context of the Middle Ages, with their organization, what they do, what their goals are, their secrets, etc. Again, system neutral, though obviously really good put together with Lion and Dragon. That's kind of the default assumption. But if you don't like the sound of that one, there's 103 other issues covering all kinds of stuff: monsters, adventures, items, supplements, setting stuff, all kinds of things you can find. They're all priced between like 99 cents and $4.99, except for number 100, which is Star Adventure, my space opera OSR game that costs $9.99 in PDF and print. It has a print version. So check those out, and that's a great way to support me, because it's like you're buying me a coffee, or if you're picking up one of my books, I guess you're buying me a meal. But you're also getting something for yourself, right? And while I'm at it, I'll mention to support the channel. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to Inappropriate Characters yet, please do. And be sure to support us on Patreon. The more money we get on Patreon for Inappropriate Characters, the longer Venture will be allowed to stay up past his bedtime. And I guess that's it for me.
Okay.
You're up, Venture.
All right. Well, I still, since I brought them out of hibernation, I still have hardcover Chalt and a very successful follow-up, Chalt Fuchsia Malaise. And so I got those for sale on my website. Just go there, and usually there's an announcement, or I write it in the PS down below the blog post. And besides that, there's the Gonzo Up Your Ass podcast that is happening monthly with Aaron, the Pedantic, and I. We've done 2 shows so far, with a third next month. Next Tuesday, April 13th, I think, if you want to mark your calendar. And that's a lot of fun, because we show you or tell you how to make your game more metal or more gonzo, or both. And then we also talk about cool movies like Attack of the Killer Clowns, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and Ice Pirates, and Crawl. And we're going to be talking about Psycho Gorman probably next time also, because that kicks ass. I don't know if anyone's seen Psycho Gorman, but it's fucking awesome.
I've seen the trailer. Anyway, it looks cool. I'm just waiting for it to be free on Shudder.
Yeah, I just splurged for the Blu-ray. It was like, I don't know, $16.99 on Amazon. I knew I'd be watching it a lot if I liked it, and I'm glad I did, because I'll be watching it probably a few times a year, just because things happen so fast and so quick. There's so much like awesome dialogue or monologuing about the Psycho Gorman and where he comes from, like some cool like D&D backstory. Like the name of the planet that this creature's from, I think is called Gygax. It's just spelled different. So it's like a total gamer movie. Like if you like, especially if you like weird metal gonzo, like fucked up weird D&D shit, then yeah, Psycho Gorman is like your movie if you don't take yourself too seriously, because it's kind of a comedy. And yeah, anyway, enough about that.
Sounds like it was made for me.
Yeah, I mean it's made for, if you like Dungeon Crawl classics, it's probably the movie for you. And it's family friendly.
Hell yeah.
Like I watched it with my wife and my 2 older girls. and they're 10 and 8. So, and they both got through it. There was a couple parts where like, I don't like that little witch's face with the many eyes, but yeah, she got through it. It wasn't that bad, and yeah, at the same time, it was like a movie for me because it was dark and weird and fucked up shit happened, and they talked about like cool D&D stuff, and yeah, it's good.
You're giving away all your content here, Venture. Save it for your podcast.
Yeah.
Joe, you got anything to promote?
Nothing new. Still working on Brutal Blades. I want to get an online game going pretty soon. So any of you guys listening out there, if you're on Twitter, you follow me and DM me if you're at all interested in playing Brutal Blades, mini campaign or something. Hit me up. I'm gonna start doing one online soon. There you
go.
What's that?
There you go. That's a big incentive for our audience.
Yeah, I ran a few sessions for GaryCon. GaryCon was this weekend. They went really well. Other than on Saturday, I only had one guy in my game, but he's a listener. Ryan, I don't want to say his last name. So Ryan, if you're listening, definitely hit me up on Twitter, or you have my email address now. So I'll email you directly and see if you're interested. But that's all I got going on.
All right.
So
some more comments from the
topic.
Peanut Gallery here. Hang on. Some more comments from the Peanut Gallery here. Shadzar says the only good bard is a dead bard.
You know what, Shadzar? You and I are going to have words.
Maliki says, tip number 1 to make money writing RPGs, move to the same country RPG Pundit lives in. Well, it doesn't have to be that, but obviously if you're living in New York, you're probably going to have a lot more trouble making ends meet, right? Sir Guy says, isn't Pundit offering a 10-step process seminar to game writing success for $999? No, I'm not. But and that might be a good idea if I thought that that it was easy to do. Let's see what else. Judd Goswick is asking me about the Invisible College. As far as I know, Invisible College is continuing at a good pace. It is still scheduled to come out in the first half of this year. So we hope by June at the latest. If that changes, I will let people know. It's doing quite well. The play tests went well. Everything is coming along. Let's see what else here. Anything else? Someone says crawl. Judd Goswick says Brutal Blades is going to be popular with streamers with its focus on twee and lovely men and their poetic lives.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really popular. Cool. I just was working on my take of Gary Gygax's random harlot encounter table. It's called a rando cum dumpster table.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God. I have to see this thing. I need to see this glorious thing right away.
And that's why Alpha Blue is so popular. I mean, girls just want to have fun, to quote Steve Walker, which is awesome. And that's why girls like, if I bring that to a convention, more girls will sign up for that than they would D&D, because girls like just talk about that sort of stuff, and they're very comfortable with it, which is awesome and refreshing.
Jesus. All right.
On that note,
with that we can move
Daddy's out.
Oh, you got to go. All right. See you later, Avenger.
Daddy being home, Daddy's out. Boom.
Remember, everyone, if you want Venture to be allowed to stay up past his bedtime, support us on Patreon.
Mark your calendars for that. I just coined that phrase. That's going to be my new sign-off. Daddy's out.
All right, then. So, Joe, what's our next topic then?
All right, now that all the douchebags are gone, let's go to our final topic.
Hey, I heard that.
What?
I'm still listening.
You're supposed to turn off your speakers. All right, our final topic is a follow-up to last month's shit starter post, part 2. So Luke Crane some of you may know, got embroiled with this trying to bring Adam Koebel onto his perfect RPG project, and in secret, try to slip him in at the last minute, trying to unzack him, and he got called out. But the latest news from, I think it was from Dicebreaker, where that article was from. No, Polygon. Yeah, from Polygon. Whoops, I just messed that up. From Polygon is that that Luke Crane and Kickstarter have parted ways amicably. So, yeah. So I think we all know what that probably means.
Aaron the Pedantic says Luke Crane did almost nothing wrong. Well, he's done a lot wrong all through his career, Aaron, but this one is especially fun for me. Luke Crane is a guy who dedicated himself to making crap story games and who basically detests the role of the dungeon master and tried to do everything possible to push forward this idea that certain indie designers have, that ideally there should be no dungeon master. And if there is one, he should be absolutely powerless, right? That what should govern is the genius of the game designer with rules that no one is allowed to change, and then whatever the petty whims of the players are, But more importantly, the guy went and he was in charge of Kickstarter gaming for a while, and then Kickstarter community, and we have no evidence that he was directly responsible for, say, canceling certain Kickstarters that didn't appeal to his ideology. But there's no question that he had the potential to do that. He had a lot of influence there. And now, I guess, he fucked around and found out. Yeah. He called it wrong. He thought that his star power would let him bring back his buddy Adam Koebel after the robo-rape incident.
He gonna learn his day.
Yeah, he was totally wrong. So, as far as I'm concerned, I've been eating popcorn all month, right? Because it's been like, one after another case of SJWs canceling each other, right? Between him and Swordsfall and, a bunch of other incidents that have happened. And like I said in the video, what I don't understand is how it is that what's her name, Jessica Price, isn't being canceled for selling out to Wizards of the Coast. Like she was at the forefront of the boycott Wizards and fire Mike Merle's movement, and all of a sudden she's working for them on Ravenloft. And she does this post. Like the first thing she writes when they reveal that she's one of the authors is to say it's totally okay to keep boycotting Wizards. Like this shows you how weak Wizards is. Like that they're paying these people to say fuck Wizards. And don't buy their products.
They're just like, here's these people, give us a crumb of your patronage. Like they don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how Wizards keeps falling for this nonsense, but there we are. I mean, corporations are stupid, I guess. The last several years have proven that in a big way. Like when Gillette did an ad about how bad men are, like your entire market is men, and masculinity. Masculinity is toxic. We have to stop being men. It's like, what the hell were you thinking? That's like Coca-Cola demanding that sugar be outlawed. It's just insane.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So I'm not sure where Luke's gonna land next, but I don't know. There's so many people like that Burning Wheel game. I don't get it at all. I'm sure he doesn't need any money. It doesn't need a day job.
Yeah, it's absolutely stupid.
It's like a cult. I don't know how many times I've gone to some party or used to go to parties in Seattle, and it would talk to people like, "Oh, let me tell you about Burning Wheel," and blah, blah. And I'm just like, what?
No, Job, I hate to tell you, but your first mistake is you live in Seattle, right?
Yeah, I know. I wish I could get out. I'm trapped here now because I'm divorced and I can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Otherwise, you should, I don't know, move to Tennessee or Florida or something.
Florida. I don't know, man. I lived a long time. I'm practically a Florida man, even though I was born in New York. Lived there a long time.
Don't
So
move to Florida.
in the comments here, Doom Bunny says Luke tried to slide his Kobold in the back door. Yeah, well, more accurately, he tried to slide Kobold in everybody else's back door. You know, and like the funniest thing
Secretly.
is, no, and it was so obviously smarmy how he did it, right? Because when he listed the people who were contributing to this Kickstarter project, he started revealing them one by one, right? And he decided to reveal them in reverse alphabetical order by first name, right? And Kobol's first name is Adam, which meant that he was the last person that would be on the list, right? So like,
After
and now
everybody
he's
stopped
trying to
watching.
pretend. Now in the Polygon interview, he was like, "Oh yeah, I can see how some people might have thought that was subterfuge." Now, come on, dude. There's no reason for doing that except to make sure that Adam Kobold is the last guy at the very bottom of the list, and that you were hoping to just kind of sneak him in there. You know, like there's no other way that would have been the decision of how to organize a list of credits, right?
Yeah, you know, actually, you bring up a really good point. I forgot that I wanted to bring up about this too. Is I feel like we're like heading towards this place where, like, you know, if you're gonna do like an RPG project or something, that like you need to tell like all the people, everybody involved in the project, and like what it's about, and I don't know, it seems like a ridiculous place to be in, you know. But like I was getting art for Brutal Blades, and I talked to one artist. I was like, hey, I want you to do this thing, you know, with like a butthole and a brain, you know, and he was like, what? And then I was like, well, this is what it is, you know, it's for the retard table. And he was like, a retard table? And then I was like, well, shit. He was like, I don't care, whatever you want me to draw, I'll just draw it. But I was thinking about some of the other artists I've talked to, like, there was a retard table in the book. I almost feel like, what, now do I have to go tell everybody there's a retard table in the book? And then everybody like, well, I don't want to draw a single illustration for a book that might have a retard table in it, you know?
Yeah.
That is a pretty extreme example. I
Pretty
don't know.
fucked up.
Chelsea, what do you think?
I mean, that's pretty fucked up. What the hell? I wouldn't want to draw for that either.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just in the play test. Maybe it won't be in the final. We'll see.
Blades, which I think the original project name was Brains and Buttholes. Now I'm pretty sure that was what you were meaning to call it at first. It seems the more you talk about this game of yours, Job, the more that I'm thinking of that movie, The Producers. You know, like Springtime.
I love
for
that
Hitler or
movie.
something.
Oh my great! Springtime for
are
Hitler.
you sure
Oh my
that you're
god, I
not,
listen to
like,
that all the time.
Are you sure that if this game, like, have you made a bet that this game is going to be banned, and then you'll stand to win far more money than you ever could have by actually selling it? Like, is that what's going on here? Because it sounds like you're doing everything humanly possible to make this the most offensive game in history. You know?
I am. I actually am trying to make it the most offensive game in history. So
I can get behind that.
Like, I mean, are we talking fatal levels here? Is there an anal circumference table? Is that what you're...
No. But I was
Right,
thinking
well,
have like a picture
No,
of an
but
orc.
like maybe.
Well, there is the rando cum dumpster table, so I don't know. That might set some people off. We'll see.
That one's my favorite.
Oh man. Yeah, I think Job is just like a little jealous that Benjer and I are so infamous, and he's trying to like really catch up at warp speed and jump into first place, you know, like become by far the most infamous member of the Appropriate Characters, you know.
Yeah, okay. Well, now that makes I didn't think about that, so that makes the case for me not cutting anything. So. Anyway, I don't know. I just think it's a kind of a ridiculous, you know, professional atmosphere to, like, you know, everyone's got to clear their politics with everybody else before they work on a project. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It depends. Like, you know, if someone,
it's stupid.
if I was going to work on an RPG project, right, and someone was, you know, was going to have Tracy Hurley on that project, you know, or Bruce Baugh, I'd sort of want to know, right? And, you know, conversely, I imagine they would want to know if I was on that project, because like, to me, those two are like utterly despicable human beings, right? And from their point of view, they don't want to, they will lose all of their SJW credibility being associated with me, right? So yeah, I can see that, there are certain things that you need to kind of make clear. Now, do you have to talk through every single detail and get permission? No, I don't think so, right?
Well, that's just where the bar will move, though. Once you start saying, well, we need to know everybody who's working on it, then the bar is going to raise a little bit higher. Like, well, we need to know every little bit of what their policy. You know what I mean? I mean, that might sound a little bit extreme, but like, I don't know. That just sounds kind of.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. That's why I brought it up. Is this where we're going to be 2 years from now? That like, everyone's got to be vetted before they can even like sign on to a project, or.
Well, I think to a certain extent that's already happening, right? Like that's something that is a product. It goes all the way back to me and Zach in Consultant Gate, right? That
Oh, yeah.
the SJWs were basically outraged that Wizards of the Coast dared to hire us to work on 5th edition and not them, right? But they made it look like it was about us being evil or something like that, and then they made this massive campaign to try to kill 5th edition in its cradle, claiming that we were both history's greatest monsters or something, which didn't which is nonsense. But that's kind of set the stage for that, right? The problem is, like, the real problem to me is when you get to like this kind of retroactive vetting, right? Like now, if Adam Coble is working on a project now, well, his name is Mud, basically, so that's understandable. But if like tomorrow, Bill Smith, the RPG designer, is involved in some kind of scandal, would that mean that then companies should stop selling books that he helped write? And that's where you get into really horrific unpersoning territory,
Mm-hmm.
And like this kind of moral censorship that's just ridiculous,
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, actually,
People have more brains than we give them credit for. They can decide for themselves what they want,
Yeah.
to consume.
Very true.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I guess they kind of do that up here anyway. And now that I think about it, effectively, like the kind of the Seattle like whisper network around RPGs, like the Green Ronins, controlling for years the Gen Con featured guests or whatever and stuff, like, so I guess we basically have the same system already, but now it's different.
Yeah, of course, Green Ronin got itself in, they were for a long time the one of the earliest adopters of this kind of being the moral censors of the RPG hobby. And then they've gotten themselves into a big mess a couple of years back that has caused scandals for them, and there are some people that say that they'll never work for Green Ronin again,
Yeah, well, I mean, whenever the people bring up these kind of, I don't know, ethical qualms or whatever, I'm like, well, why are you the moral authority on this? Like, what gives you the right to be that moral authority? And every time they do it, they're doing the same shit. They just, as soon as it comes out, that they look like idiots, but whatever.
And usually the people doing the moral authority are the worst people in the world, like they're just useless garbage human beings,
What were you saying, Chelsea?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, did I say something?
Yeah, at the same time as I thought you were trying to make a point too.
I talked over you, so.
Oh, I don't remember what I said.
Oh.
Well, I will say though that I think that there's probably a connection to like what you were saying as far as a lot of the times these moral high ground fighters are some of the worst people. Probably has a lot to do with like they need some kind of validation that they're not awful people. So it's like, look at me being awesome.
Well, I mean,
advocating for the right thing.
Case in point, look at who we're talking about, right? Luke Crane and Adam Coble both participated in probably 100 blacklisting campaigns, right? Both of them spoke out in outrage about people like me and Grim Jim and Zach S and all these people. You know, they were constantly on the forefront of demanding that people's works be censored forever, you know, and now they're getting what they fucking deserve, you know. So it's a beautiful thing. At the hands of their own compatriots, you know.
Well, in the case of Zach was actually in the same boat too. He was fucking trying to.
Yeah, you know, Zach was doing the same thing. Zach loved free speech when it was defending his products, right? But then the rest of the time, he would jump onto the bandwagon, right? Like he went after you know, Adventure Conqueror King and stuff like that, you know. So
yeah, I'm all about the free speech. Like, I don't care what shit you say about me, like, but I don't get to decide to censor you, you know.
Yeah. So some comments from the live chat. Dracopol says, before we hire you for Giant RPG Corp, please send over your YouPorn search terms. Judd Gosling says, on a serious note, I'm buying the hell out of Brutal Blaze when it comes out. I kid it only because it's so clear that it is a badass RPG.
Yeah, I'm working to make. I took your topic on your video to heart the other day, Pundit. I've been thinking about that for a while, trying to figure out how to put out my RPG. So there's nothing that anyone can do to stop me. You know, I'm definitely not going to drive-through. I mean, I wouldn't even flirt with that.
It's a very important thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
To have cover. Let's see what else here. Sir Guy says, I just feel sorry for struggling writers who are trying to be creative and not political. Yeah, well,
yeah.
In the modern world, in the modern world, the left has made everything political, literally everything. I mean, when you know, when knitting is a political hotbed, you know, like every single aspect.
Really?
Because that's, yeah, like what I always said. Yeah. There's been huge conflicts in the knitting community about like representation and racism and who knows what else. It's just nonsense. But it's what I always say. Totalitarians have to be total, right? So that's like an inherent part of totalitarianism, is that they want you to have to every waking moment think of their ideology, right, and have to work and obey along with
it's a religion.
So you cannot have a moment of peace. That's why every TV show has to be about critical race theory. That's why, you know, every movie has to be about third wave feminism. That's why you have to consider trans representation in every single instant of your life. You know,
it's going to be the death of creativity and free thinking.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, we've seen this all before in the witch hunts and the bonfire of the vanities and the Mothers Against Dungeons and Dragons. You know, like this is nothing new. It's just that in the 20th century, we were used to it being like religious conservatives who did this, right?
I was going to say that same thing. That's why I said the pendulum will always swing back around, because it used to be the conservative right telling us that everything we enjoy is evil. Suddenly, it's coming from this side. Like,
yeah, well, it was that way in the West, you know, in the Western part of the Western world, because of course in the Eastern Bloc countries, the left were horribly censorious, right? The communists were, you know, literally sending people to death camps for what they wrote, you know. The left has always been censorious. It's just that for a long time, they didn't feel they had the power to do it, you know. So once they got into power and, you know, the religious right doesn't really have the power to censor anyone anymore. They're too, you know, spent. But now that all these guys that were, you know, Berkeley was the birthplace of the modern free speech movement in the 1960s. And in, you know, the 2010s, it became the place where Antifa was allowed to brutally assault people that were marching in favor of free speech, you know. So like that's the reality in which we live today.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any other comments here from the peanut gallery. A lot of talking about X cards. Judd Goswick says, all this talk about a Kickstarter that would have, like almost all Forger Kickstarters, delivered years late, if at all. Yeah, well, that's probably true, especially when you have like 30 contributors, right? That product was gonna, it would have made $100,000 and nobody would have ever gotten anything from it, you know?
Right, by design, because they're like too afraid to profit from their work.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess that's do we have anything else to say on this topic, or does
I do have one more thing to say is, I don't think Adam or Luke should have, lost their jobs or anything over this stuff. It's stupid. I mean, we're talking about fucking people sitting around playing elf and robot games with dice. We're not talking about actual physical harm in the world. So I mean, this stuff's ridiculous. Those guys are, they're kind of idiots. They got hoisted by their own petards in a sense. But I mean, I don't support them getting fired and being harassed and stuff.
Well, I don't support anyone being censored. But at the same time, if I see two communists trying to shoot each other, I'm not going to stop them. Like nothing of value has been lost. Not a thing. There's nothing that Ukraine, Radim Koval did that made them worth saving. Even though they haven't. I'm on principle opposed to their being censored. In practice, the world is not in any way a worse place for them never making another RPG product again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've never designed anything that I know of that would make me want to see them design anything else. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I guess unless there's any other comments or questions from the peanut gallery, I guess that's about time to start wrapping things up. Shadzar says, I'll give Chelsea one bardic proper. Adam is getting poetic justice. Is that what we've been used to? Stupid puns, really?
That's not a reduction, that's an elevation.
Doom Bunny says, Job, run a one-shot called Escape from Seattle.
Oh my God, that was my dream. I'd love to.
Yeah, well. All right, well, I want to thank Chelsea for guest starring. Maybe we'll have you back sometime. We'll have to see.
Awesome.
Thank you very
hope
much.
You'll keep making videos.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to your channel now, so make more videos.
Thank you.
Love to see
I
them.
will.
And for everybody else, our next, unless there's a very good reason for it not to be, I guess our next Inappropriate Characters episode is going to be on the 25th of April. That's 4 weeks from now. We'll confirm that later, but that would be the standard date that we would do it in. And meanwhile, be sure to keep watching, keep watching my YouTube channel. If you can stand it, watch Vengers too. And Joby, you don't have a YouTube channel, do you?
No, I got no time. I wish.
Well,
I gotta finish Brutal Blades.
Be sure to check out Dollipip and Aaron the Pedantics channel. Well, thank you everybody for watching. We had a very good turnout, and I guess we'll see you guys next time.
All right, peace out. Thanks everybody.
Bye.